oldest top contender in the North American scene. He actually, like, I think has been around and has been playing since Brood War. He's been around longer than, say, even Scarlet and everything, who came up in like 2011. Trigger is the newest person. He literally picked up the game like a few years ago at this point, like 4 or 5 years ago, I think it's something at this point now. So this is like the oldest versus the newest top contenders of North America.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and I'm excited to see how they match up against each other because they're both such good mechanical players, and they're both such brainy players, too. But without further ado, let's intro. Up in the top right for Basilisk, it is Trigger. My Canadian lad.
And down here in the bottom left, we have the blue Terran player hailing from Mexico and representing Hyper One. He is SpeCial. He's also the man of, in the past, many names. So maybe you didn't know that he used to play in Brood War because he used to go by Major and Princess and all sorts of other names that, like, the list is too long and some of them are quite weird. So I'm not even going to name them all. But he is an experienced veteran who's got some experienced builds, including a good old in-base 2 racks.
Yeah, this is funky. I wonder if this is going to be 2, 3, 4 Reapers. I think it's just going to be 2. We'll see, but it's something that just hits at a funky timing. Could be 3 Reapers even. We'll definitely have to pay attention for that. Trigger is going to check, sees that it's not a 1-racks expand. Obviously, you're expecting that it's not going to be because there's double depot, and that would be weird to do a 1-racks expand. This looks like a quick factory opener. Okay, it is going to be at least 3 Reapers. So that will be enough to 2-shot probes.
I'm used to seeing like 3 to 5 Reapers, I think, when I see this kind of stuff. And it is just like an annoying thing. It's also going to be very, probe gets recall, but it also sees the command center coming down.
Yes.
That's actually very helpful for him to identify exactly what he's up against.
It's pretty cool, yeah. The build that I'm thinking of, the 2 Reaper variant, is actually something Raynor came up with, but it is very different in its objective. So you go for the low ground 2 racks, and it allows you to kind of set up defensively. Now, look at what Trigger's got against this. He has blocked off multiple of the jump-in points. His pylon is brilliantly placed. It allowed him to put a gateway that blocks 1 jump-in point, and the cyber core blocking, or no, actually the gateway does not block the jump-in point. It's just a cyber core, but it lets him hide his tech really effectively and put his gateway, I guess, a little bit closer to the ramp. Here comes the Reapers into the main, though, and they are going to find quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, Adept is going to have a really hard time catching these Reapers as it just moves too gosh darn slow. You can afford to lose a couple of probes to this kind of Reaper opening because it is an investment. You're delaying your command center and everything, but 4 probes is already kind of on that borderline of how many you're really willing to lose to this. And, I like the split up. 1 Adept on each one of these Reapers. Can he actually get that other Reaper? Nicely done. Thought the line of sight blocker might have actually stopped him for a moment.
Yeah, I was wondering if it would. It was almost a perfect sweet spot timing. Oh, he gets 1 more probe. Nice job from SpeCial getting the max value there with that last Reaper. But Trigger does clean this up. Now, as far as information is concerned, SpeCial did get the scout on the Twilight Council with this. Trigger did have the gold base up and running uninterrupted during this whole thing. So if you take a look at the income advantage, it is still a little bit more for Trigger. SpeCial not transferring all the SCVs to this base, maybe worried about this little counterattack from Trigger. This is enough to one-shot SCVs and one-shot Marines. Is a Cyclone going to be enough to actually keep this middle line safe? I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps, and it's just a micro battle, right? But at the same time, like you were saying, with this number of units, you can just one-shot the SCVs. So
yeah,
that
exactly.
No matter how well you micro, as long as these units just poke in, get one shot, and back off, they shouldn't be taking anything more than just shields. And actually, even going after the Cyclone and pushing it back is going to really complicate things.
Yeah, and 4 SCVs already going down. This is so good for Trigger. Not just the damage, but the fact that he has now kind of bullied SpeCial off the mineral line. And now Stalkers, they're going to be out of range. They can set up out of range, basically.
Oh. This is 4-gate blink too. This is actually like a really aggressive kind of style here from Trigger in general. But this, especially on a map like this, is going to be extremely effective. is going to be able to keep that Stalker alive as well. Blink is close to finishing. Third base timing is scattered there by SpeCial, and he may get that SCV into the main base to identify who he's up against. This Liberator, I mean, this Liberator has to get so much damage done. It has to delay things at a minimum, because otherwise, I'm actually really worried. I don't know what SpeCial is really going to be able to do to compensate for how many losses he's taking.
Yeah, and the siege tank is in a good position, but it is the only tank right now. And if Trigger is able to get that pick off, it is going to be a nightmare to deal with here for SpeCial. Now that Liberator has a very good time. Unironically, if he hadn't, I think he could have just left it there. I don't think it was ever going to be like, because you can't warp in under it.
You could blink over the minerals.
Yeah, but you're going to have to. He would have had to warp. Okay, there's 4 Stalkers here. He would have had to get 4 Stalkers either around it, or he would have had to blink through warping into it. Like, basically, I think it would have been maybe better to just stay there. But now, I mean, this is just so much damage.
Where did he move? Oh, he's just trying to do a push out now. Trigger caught him as he was trying to do the push out. So all the siege tanks are unsieged, and that also is the biggest alert ever you could ever ask for. Wait, you had a siege tank, you had all these units, they're all gone, you just abandoned the base. Like, clearly you're about to attack me. So Chrono Boost the heck out of charge, I imagine, at this point. Chrono Boost out some Immortals and just try to buy time, because as long as you hold this push, Trigger's got this game in the bag, but he has to hold this push.
He certainly does. Stim is not yet done. It's just combat shields. Great blink micro so far.
Ooh.
We are going to see SCVs pulled with this. And honestly, that was not bad for SpeCial, but Charge is such a hard timer on this push.
It really is going to make things difficult, but I think Trigger actually bled out so many of his Zealots there. He only has 2 Zealots on the map. He's warping into the Immortal. Immortal is going to just get rallied straight in. It dies. That was actually such a power unit that could have helped out so much against these tanks.
Oh, Zealot's getting stuck behind the Stalkers, but let him into the fight. There they go. They finally are going to come in. Both siege tanks will go down. And even with an expensive set of losses for Trigger, he should be able to hold this. Stim does complete. Ah, man, this could have been game over, basically, if Trigger had really gotten a handle on this from minute 1. But SpeCial traded out well enough that he is going to be able to play this game out from here. Now, it is still a Trigger who is on a gold base. But if we look back at it, I'm sure it's getting close to mining out here. Ooh, don't lose that Stalker. Ah, that's expensive. Yeah, he's already got 3 of the mineral patches getting very low. On the other side, SpeCial is getting a little bit low, but because he was denied mining on the gold base for so long, his economy is going to be stronger than the worker count would suggest it actually is. Oh, that's a great little move from Trigger.
Yeah. Oh. And yeah, he's not even going to actually get a chance to warp in more units. SpeCial knows he's too far out of position. He cannot deal with that, and that is going to be GG. Really, really well done there by Trigger. I mean, I think that was a great identification of the way that SpeCial was playing that out. Despite the fact that SpeCial got some really nice damage done with those early Reapers, Trigger just going for the 4-gate blink and identifying the opportunity there, finding the moment where the siege tank wasn't quite finished up and getting all that damage done. I mean, he just handled that beautifully.
Yeah, I was definitely critical of Trigger's defense there because, you know, we have perfect vision and we're like, oh man, here up on our ivory thrones, we're like, he didn't even blink the Stalkers out of the way to let the Zealots through? What a fool. But it was an imperfect defense, but it was still an ultra committed attack from SpeCial. He had SCVs with it. I don't think he got an engineering bay and +1 weapons. I don't think he had any like strong transition out of it. So even though he traded,
no third. yeah,
exactly, no third base. Like even though he traded out against it, it was still Trigger with the significant advantage, having that charge done, having the mobility advantage. And you said it best when he was caught a little bit out of position at the end. He was just like, okay, well, I'm going to lose these tanks. I'm going to lose this game long term. And he just says, go next.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's better to just move on and kind of say, look, like maybe I could have tried continuing to fight things out, but I just want to be in the best mental state as we head into the next game, because that was just game number 1. And Trigger now going to be leading up in the series 1-0. Going to be a nice, comfortable spot for him in that regard, because these are, I would say, obviously Estrella and Scarlet, the other 2 really big names, the power names in North America. But these are the other 2. The SpeCial and Trigger are the 2 players that you could reliably see making a deep run in North America. And I would say if you were to make a list of like 4 players who could win North America, it would be SpeCial, Trigger, and then Scarlet and Estrella.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that one. Especially with the rise we've seen from Trigger recently. He has just really turned into a full package, and we have him now spawning down in the bottom left, up 1-0 for Basilisk. It is Trigger.
And up here on the top right-hand side of the map, the blue Terran player, he is SpeCial.
He is pretty special, isn't he?
He most certainly is. And so are these maps we're playing on, man. I mean, last game, we have an in-base natural that also has, like, exposure, and we saw how big of an impact that had. This is going to be post-youth, and it is going to be a map where half of your minerals in your in-base natural are gold. There's also this, like, mineral wall that's also sitting at the front of your ramp. We got a good old, I mean, like, a good old-fashioned kind of, like, weird map. One that we haven't really seen for a while.
Yeah, this was always going to be an interesting map pool because we have a lot of things. A lot of different maps have a lot of different weird features, and it was going to be hard to decide which one was the weirdest. Funnily enough, they started on, in my opinion, the 2 weirdest maps, Dynasty and Post-Youth. But Dynasty, beyond that gold base, it's got a pretty standard map layout. Yes, there's like a lot of differences about it, but this one is weird from the start of the map down to its core. There is not a normal part of this map. Even the tile set and the way things look make it very weird, but we got to talk about this. It's a double gas opener from SpeCial. It's more importantly a double gas opener from Trigger, and he is almost certainly going to be going, for a proxy Stargate. And that's a Stargate before Warp Gate, before Unit. This is going for broke.
Yep. And he's going to be chrono boosting out that Stalker, I imagine, because he's going to need it in time for the Reaper. Actually, no, it looks like he should be fine without. Yeah.
I would have liked the chrono, but he clearly wanted to save it for the Stargate. I would have liked the chrono in order to prevent or at least make an effort to contest the scout, because now SpeCial is going to see, my opponent's on 2 gases. Like, and you can hope that your opponent doesn't SCV scout, and you can be pretty confident that they don't, but you can't really be sure that they won't build a Reaper.
It's a Void Ray, Dave. It's a Void Ray and a Gateway. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I love it. Trigger, he wins my heart, man. I mean, Juanito, he's been around in StarCraft for such a long time. He's always going to have a good place in my heart as like one of those NA hopes for such a long time. But man, Trigger, he knows how to get straight to my heart.
Yeah, this is such a for a while Proxy Void Ray was the thing to beat Terrans with. Like, it was just so obnoxiously powerful. SpeCial, by the way, reconfirming you don't have a base, you don't have anything. Of course, Trigger after this could go for the gold base eventually. But for now, he is so dedicated with this. And SpeCial keeping that Reaper alive, it's going to be really nice to keep tabs on things later. But this is such a scary attack to deal with. And the new Cyclone, not as good at dealing with Void Rays as the old one.
The medevac is an interesting choice here for me. I'm curious about this. Do you think
he wants to pick it up and save units from the Void Rays, maybe? Because
I actually was wondering if he was going to try and load up the Widow Mine and just be aggressive with it. Looks like he is going to just, for now, load up a single SCV as a misclick, and he's going to be losing
oh my God,
2 depots over the front. This is going to supply block him.
That is disastrous, actually. He starts up a siege tank already, but he's going to be blocked on his next round of production for a long time. There is that medevac to enable the micro, but so far Trigger's getting some really great pickoffs, and the siege tank is in a good spot. But I feel like that supply block alone is already such a disaster. Nice job, gets the bunker. No cancel either. Cyclone will get distracted to the left side. This is going to force a lot of lost mining time, but he will lose those 2 adepts inevitably.
Yeah. They'll end up going down, but they are at least starting to now focus fire down a couple of these SCVs, so Trigger's finding some additional value. I also want to note that the next round of supply depots is still not come out here for SpeCial either, so he's going to get supply blocked again.
Oh, the Viking gets absolutely deleted. So too will the siege tank and the Cyclone. Void Rays actually did change their targets from the Siege Tank for a while, not allowed it to get like one extra blast that was really good. That just turned so quickly.
Wow.
There was just enough Marines. Man with gun, go Burr.
Marines are pretty good, it looks like. When he comes to a straight-up fight, and Trigger, he's going to end up losing his other Void Ray as well. That is going to be GG. What a strange kind of, like, engagement over there. It seemed like maybe Trigger just committed a little bit too far forward because he knew that he had to do something with the Siege Tanks getting out in higher numbers. But, man, that Siege Tank, it was so costly to try and go for the pickoff on that.
Yeah, and the fact that he didn't get it as quickly as he could have and needed to, 100%, he definitely needed to get the pick off quicker, was just devastating for him. And as a result, we're going to game 3. I really looked at that and I'm like, oh man, the Siege Tank goes down, the Viking went down so fast. Like, we're going to see, I thought Trigger was breaking through, but there was just so little ground army left. And it was like 10 unstimmed Marines being healed by a medevac, and damn, I really, my brain looked at that engagement at the start and was like, Trigger wins, and it wasn't even a question in my head, but there was just enough Marines.
Yeah, I mean, it's even like little things such as the Void Rays, like they spend some of their time attacking the Marines after the Siege Tank was just getting repaired up or something. I don't know if he like attack moved with the Void Rays and they started attacking the Marines instead, or if he target fired around instead with the Void Rays because he realized that he wasn't killing the Siege Tank. But that means that they're not really being all that effective. Like, Void Rays, when they're not prismatically aligned, are not exactly doing critical amounts of damage in that situation. The Siege Tank also obliterates Stalkers if you actually just sit there and let the Siege Tank fire at you. So that plus the Marines, like you were saying, and the fact that you're going up a ramp into this weird kind of position. SpeCial wasn't getting, distracted with his target fire on the Siege Tank, like with the Adept shading forward. He didn't say, okay, well, yes, now the Adepts will just absorb the Siege Tank fire, and also it'll friendly fire the Marines. Like, SpeCial said, no, I'm going to right-click on your Stalkers. I'm going to just make sure that I'm getting maximum value from all of this. And he did a really great job with just all of the small little micro bits on that engagement.
Yeah, and additionally, the Siege Tank was in such a perfect position to act as bait. Yeah. I look at that, and it's funny because I don't even play Protoss, but I definitely suffered from like the brain of looking at that and being like, oh yeah, you break this, you go, yeah, this is good.
Ooga booga right click.
Ooga booga right click, yeah, and then it happened, and then SpeCial, like you said, he avoided the friendly fire, which looked like it was going to be really rough because those Adept Shades were about to get some big value. But I gotta say, I did not expect that to go the way that it did. And I'm kind of happy that it did, because that means we get a game 3 as we have spawning up in the top left for Basilisk. Can he refocus there? I think so. It is Trigger.
And down here on the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have the blue Terran player mounting a solid defense against the Cheese. He is SpeCial. Team Hyper 1.
Yeah, that was... I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around what happened there. Like, even after I rewatched the fight, I was like, oh, okay, like, because I saw at the beginning he used prismatic alignment to kill one of the Vikings. Or no, to kill the bunker. To kill the bunker that was trying to be produced. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. He had prismatic alignment on cooldown for a while. But I really just think it came down to underestimating the Marines and not having enough gateway units in general. I wonder what would have happened if, instead of shading forward with those 3 Adepts, if Trigger had just kind of kept them with the army and used them to soak tank shots, or at least force SpeCial to target fire. The other thing is keeping the 2 Adepts that he shaded into the backline. I wonder if those 2 differences would have been enough to change the fight enough that it comes out with a Trigger victory.
Yeah, I also just wonder if he just kind of pushed in a little bit more than he really needed to. Because think about it, like that, in a sense, that was possibly one of the best kind of starts for all of that Trigger could have asked for. He got like a massive supply block on SpeCial. A SpeCial also didn't actually resolve for quite a bit of time. He delayed additional units and stuff coming out from SpeCial. Like, SpeCial got supply block twice for many, many seconds during all of that. And I don't think that's something you could even really reliably ask for. So I think the fact that it still didn't work, it made me wonder if maybe just going after the reactor or delaying things in that way would have worked out a little bit better. I say all this, and we do see it. It's, you know, a little attempted engineering bay block to delay some mining, kind of be annoying over here, but nothing major happening in this game. So that's why we're spending so long talking about last game.
Oh my god, that dropped to I think 1 HP before it got canceled. It was literally, I'm pretty sure it was literally at 1 HP.
Mechanics, man, he's just so good. He's been doing this for 14, 15 years, man.
But I saw it at 30 HP, and I'm like, surely he cancels now. And then both units got another attack, and he must have known the math that they do 29 damage combined. But that is just a funny thing to kind of like know on the fly.
Yeah.
Because it feels intuitively like you're just, it's a little bit crazy. We are going to see a reactored Cyclone opener. We haven't seen that as much recently as we've seen, you know, in the last, I guess, before the patch. But it is still a setup that can be really scary to deal with, especially with no shield battery. It is going to be 4-gate blink once again, but this is really scary.
Oh, yeah. If you don't have a shield battery, this is so annoying. Nice micro over here. I want to note that we're seeing a bit of the impact also from that balance change there.
We're seeing a massive impact.
Yeah. I mean, when the Cyclones lose their lock-on, when you actually break their lock-on, there is a short period of time where they don't attack, and that is exactly what Trigger was able to abuse. A third Cyclone showing up over here. It did look a little bit dangerous for a moment, but 2 additional Stalkers show up and also target fire down on the low-health Cyclone. And suddenly, SpeCial actually looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble here, because unless he has the support of that high ground, I actually think it's possible for Trigger to just continue pushing forward with no bunker.
Yeah, he doesn't need to because he's getting his 4 gates online right now.
Yeah.
SpeCial hasn't started a siege tank yet. If Trigger recognizes that and just goes into the main, is there anything that can actually stop him here? He just now has his first siege tank. It's a really good sim city, so the siege tank is going to pop out in a very safe location, but that means there's so much area that Trigger can abuse in that main base. I am so scared for SpeCial right now. I have no idea if he's going to be able to hold this. This is really scary.
Target fire on the bunker for a little bit, but now he's going to actually instead start hitting a couple of those SCVs that were trying to go for the repair. So Trigger looking for free damage right now. He has not lost any Stalkers just yet, but one of them getting very, very low on hit points. He has to be quite careful about this with his Blink Micro.
He is going to have to be very careful. SpeCial doing a really great job, by the way, of repairing the bunker as he needed to. And then as soon as Trigger started targeting SCVs, he pulled back and then went back to repairing the bunker. Just managing this defense so well at the start. Trigger, though, is... I don't think he realized how delayed SpeCial's siege tank production was. And I think that's kind of a golden opportunity missed, because if he'd gone into the main base, he could have really gotten a lot of work done, but he has waited. Actually, hang on, the Observer didn't even cross the map. It's actually staying at home, not playing this the way MaxPax would, who is, of course, the gold standard for the 4-gate blink, using that to kind of track your opponent's movement. There is a third base done behind this, so Trigger is obviously going to be able to tech out of this, but... well, tech out of this and eco out of this, but I don't know. I feel like he's missed a golden opportunity here.
Yeah, it's tough. You don't really necessarily know what's going on, and like if things like the siege tank production being so delayed and everything, you just kind of see the front line bunker. You're like, okay, this is where I can push in safely. Don't want to lose too much, so a little unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it is going to be about trying to micro these Stalkers. Make sure you don't lose too many over here, or any of them ideally, but loses 2 Stalkers over there. And this is a scary looking push. He still needs to buy a little bit more time for Charge, but Charge should be finishing before this push actually shows up at his front door. He just needs to warp in those Zealots, and yeah, he's got 10 Zealots back at home, 11 Zealots now. Charge finishing up. Just needs them in position, and I love this. He's already circumventing 5 or 6 of them around to the south side.
And there's no stim. If he goes in right now, he couldn't know this, I don't think. But if he goes in right now, he would hit just before stim. But unfortunately, that is going to complete... well, unfortunately for Trigger, very fortunately for SpeCial. There's no starport, of course, with this. So even a single stim is going to be expensive. We are going to see these Zealots coming in on the bottom side a little bit disjointedly, but they will intercept reinforcements. And Mortal is out and is going to help clear up some of the siege tanks. But is there enough to clean this up? It looks like with a warping of Zealots once again, absolutely there will be. And that is going to be an amazing fight for Trigger. He's already warping in aggressively on the other side of the map, but we're just going to see an instant tap